Hi, welcome to Mango Tango Music. We're connecting passion to profession. I'm Abby and this is Emily and Camilla. We're lucky enough to have Ash Hills from Unified Music. She's a senior artist manager. So Ash, if you could just give us a bit of a brief description about what your job is and what kind of things it entitles you to do.
Sure. First of all, thanks for having me on. Nice to meet you both, or all of you. I've met Abby before, but nice to see you. So I'm a senior artist manager at Unified Music Group. So I oversee the management team in Victoria and also manage 3 clients myself as well. So I work with client liaison, Stelly, and Teen Jesus and the Gene Teasers.
So how do you kind of go about finding them kind of artists? Do they come to you or do you go to them?
I think it changes for each one. Client liaison came to Unified when they were looking for new management. So yeah, they came to us, but with Stelly, I found her on a New Music Friday playlist, 2 years ago, I think, or a year and a half ago. And went to her Facebook page and saw that she only had like 200 followers, and she was like in the top 10 of the playlist, which is a pretty big get for an artist of her size. And so I reached out to her on Instagram and DM'd her, and that's kind of how that happened. And then with Teen Jesus, they had recently parted ways with their previous manager and were starting to have, discussions with other management. So we just asked to be involved in those discussions, I suppose.
So when you say it would be like a good time in someone's career to like start looking for an artist manager,
so an artist looking for management?
Yeah, like when in their career would you find that like a suitable thing to do?
I think it really changes from artist to artist, but one of the main things is when the admin side of the music business is starting to mean you're no longer able to create music as freely as you used to. So I think, when you're getting stuck in emails and start being approached by different people like booking agents or labels and publishers, I think when that starts to happen and when you're always being torn away from creating, I think that's a good time to take on management. But the other thing is, I think a lot of artists try to get managers really early, and I think sometimes it's better to wait until you really need one rather than just thinking it's a box you need to tick, because you definitely want to make sure you've found the right person.
And do you think that goes kind of both ways, where you need to find the right person, but also you being the artist manager needs to find the right kind of clients?
As a manager, you have to be passionate about the artist you're working with. Like, I'm wearing a client liaison t-shirt today because I love their merch, but also love the band. You have to be passionate and you have to love what they do, because you have to sell it, and you can't sell something you're not passionate about. And yeah. I love all the artists I work with. I love their music and what they're about. So it's an easy sell, I guess. But yeah, if you don't like the music or the artist, I would say that that's not a good relationship to be in. Like, you wouldn't stay in a relationship with someone you didn't love anymore. And it's essentially a relationship.
A fan would be a good artist manager, or does it take something else? Like, you have to have more than just being a fan of the work.
I think you need to be a fan, but I think it's tough. You need to have the knowledge of what you're doing. So a fan just can't walk up to a band and say, I want to manage you. You need to have the knowledge of what you're doing, I think. But ultimately, you should be a fan. You should want to be at the shows of the artists that you're working with. You should want to wear their merch. You should want to listen to their music. I think that's really important.
Obviously Unified is a massive entertainment company, and I'm assuming there'd be plenty of rewarding times, like when one of your clients gets some attention. I'm just wondering, what's been one of the biggest highlights of your career?
Personally, I think it's been one of the biggest highlights recently was the sold out forum show for Client Liaison. It was the first big tour we did together. And I think just to see that sold out hometown show was really exciting. And just to be, that venue is so beautiful. So it was just amazing to be there and, kind of witness that. But as a company, I mean, we have so many incredible artists on our roster. Going to the ARIAs and seeing artists win ARIAs is always very exciting for the company. But for me personally, I would say, that sold out show at the Forum was really exciting.
Awesome, thank you.
Going on from that, who do you find you're in close contact with in the industry? So tour management or who do you kind of closely talk about with?
So I guess as the manager, you are responsible for being in contact with everybody. So you're the middleman between the artist and their entire team, essentially. So that's the label, the publishers, the booking agents, tour managers, accountants, lawyers. It's everybody in the entire team you're in constant communication with. And it's also important to have a network of people as well, because you need to find new opportunities for your artists as well, which is one of the key parts of the job of a manager. So that's the other thing, is just having a wider network as well of people that you can go to find new opportunities.
And how do you kind of find that network? How do you come about that?
I think it's just networking and going to events when is possible. Things like Big Sound and Changes here in Melbourne. Just big kind of events like that, when the music industry kind of come together. Those are really important. And just, it's just about asking people for advice. And when I was kind of new and starting out, I would constantly just ask people if I could take them out for coffee and kind of pick their brain for a short amount of time and, just kind of make contacts that way.
Nice. Obviously, you're aware, because of the pandemic, everything's been put on hold in the industry at the moment. What has been the impact of COVID-19 for you, and how have you been staying positive, and how do you think you'll bounce back from this once it's over?
The impact has been huge for our company. We have over 30 artists, majority of which rely on touring so heavily to make money. So at the moment, there's no revenue coming in from the touring side of business. And, those of our artists that are signed to labels, for example, aren't making money on their recorded music because they're not recouped. So it's obviously made a huge impact. For us, it's about finding new ways to keep our artists engaged, stepping into the live stream space. Client Liaison did a live stream with KFC back in May, and that, was really successful. So now for us, it's about kind of stepping into the ticketed live stream area. It's massive in the UK and in the US. Our US-based artists, are making decent amount of income from doing ticketed live streams. So, and Australia hasn't quite picked up, hasn't quite dived into that area yet. So for us, it's about starting to dive into that area and making the Australian audience and industry realize that it's missing out on something. Because there is Dermot Kennedy did a live stream from the Natural History Museum last month, I think it was, and sold over 30,000 tickets. Apparently a third of those were from within Australia. So there's just that market waiting, I think. And I mean, we're all music fans. I think if you really loved an artist, you probably wouldn't mind spending $10 or $20 for a ticket to a live stream that's really beautifully put together. Different to someone just playing an acoustic guitar in front of their iPhone. This would be a properly produced show with lighting and really good sound quality. So I think that's kind of an area I'm really focusing on at the moment. And just stepping into new areas of the industry and finding like into gaming and virtual reality and AI and just spending a lot of time stepping into these new areas to be creative. I think this is the time for it. Like, when was it? The last big recession was when Uber was created, and in like 2008. So I feel like this is the time for people to get really creative and bring some exciting ideas to life.
Yeah, 100%. I think it's really cool that you're kind of looking into that ticketing, live streaming kind of thing, because it's definitely like everything's been put on pause, and it is kind of a time to be creative.
Yeah.
So yeah, that kind of answered my next question about how you guys were adapting to new technologies and that type of thing. But how do you kind of see that playing out, like ticketing live, like live stream ticketing? Do you see that it will kind of kick off and that will be like the new norm, or do you think it will take like a while for it to really get to where it has to be?
I think it can be the norm while it has to be, while we can't have people playing to their usual capacity. Like, it's really hard for an artist who plays bigger size rooms to kind of downsize their show and play to only 50 or 100 people. It's just not really viable and cost effective. So I think for those artists, stepping into live streaming is probably really important. And I feel like a lot of artists are going to really want to step into it because they can see that it's financially viable.
Mm-hmm.
But I think it's something that can also last long term. For example, when touring does come back and everyone can be in venues together as we used to be, there's no reason why we can't have cameras set up in those shows and have those shows live streaming to other territories around the world.
Yeah,
as a way to open up to new audiences, instead of having to jump on a plane and spend 50 grand to tour the States and lose a bunch of money. Like, you could just stream your shows to the US that way.
Yeah, 100%. And is that something that you're kind of looking at with these ticketed live streams, is to hit a new market in a worldwide kind of thing, or would it be just targeted to an Australian market?
No, we definitely wouldn't geo-target. It doesn't, it would make sense for artists to have audiences overseas to have those streams opened up worldwide. Just, it's a chance to kind of get into those people's living rooms and just engage new, really excited fans. And then from also, you sell a ticket, but then there's also things, people can buy merchandise while they're watching the stream. There's just all these other ways to keep those fans engaged that I think it's really important that people start to kind of pay attention to live streaming. Because essentially, until we have a cure, what's the word I'm looking for? A cure, vaccine. Until we have a vaccine, like, these big shows are a long way away. So it's just about being realistic about that, I think.
With that, how do you suggest like artists and students kind of get into the music industry, considering everything that's going on? Like, how should we stay motivated to keep kind of making music and being involved?
I think this is the perfect time for musicians to just have some time to focus on making music. I know it's been a blessing and a curse for some artists that we work with. Some have just used this to write new albums and record and produce new music. Others have really struggled because they need to be in the studio with the band to do that. But things like Zoom have made it, pretty easy. We've got artists who are now writing songs with people based in LA and New York who they never would have had the chance to write with before. So I think it's just using the time wisely. And I mean, doing things like this is really great. I think people have more time now. So I feel like if you are wanting to reach out to people, now's probably the best time to do it, because everyone's stuck in their homes and, we're still busy, but have a lot more time to kind of get things done. And I feel like just reaching out to people is probably a great way to kind of start to grow your network while you're stuck at home and unable to go to school. But yeah, I think trying to stay creative and not being too hard on yourself is probably the main thing. As for me staying positive, I have just tried to stick to a routine ever since. Like, we've been working at home since March, and we probably will be till next year now. So I just tried to stick to a routine, and not stay in bed till 10 or 11 and actually get up at my usual time and exercise and have a good breakfast and then start my day. So it's just, yeah, it's pretty normal now. So I'm kind of used to it.
Sounds good. Do you have any like general kind of advice for people who are looking to kind of become an artist manager?
I think it's just about being friendly and nice, and asking somebody for advice, but not taking up 2 hours of their time, or not sending them an email with a million questions in it. Just kind of being really precise with how you're using their time is a big one. But I think trying to find an artist to manage, like the first band that I ever worked with, I just asked them if I could manage them and I had no experience. So I think that's a good way to do it. Find a friend's band that you like and try it out on them if you can, and just kind of learn the ropes that way. It's and there's so many great resources out there as well of where to learn, and you'll all be accessing those at school anyway, I imagine. So yeah, just find a band that you like if you want to get into management and ask if they want a manager. But start small. Don't go to, one of the biggest. Don't go to Ed Sheeran and ask him if he wants a manager.
A quick question. It's a bit random. Did you go to uni? And if so, where did you go and what did you study?
I did go to uni, but I didn't finish my degree. I went to Vic Uni and did a business course with a majoring in the music industry.
Ooh.
At Vic Uni. But I was offered a job quite about halfway through my degree, so I ended up leaving my degree and took my job full time.
Good.
Yeah, but like I think you learn a lot of skills at uni, and there's no right answer with this question, I think. And you're all at Collarts, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. Like Collarts is great, and they have so many pathways into internships and work experience that I think you're going, when you eventually can, like you're going to create networks through those things, and they get in so many guest speakers and they have great teachers. So you're in the right place, I think. But even the fact that you're doing something like this is really cool. So I think trying to continue doing these is important. It's a good way for you to meet people. And Abby has my email now, so I'm happy for you to reach out if you have any questions. You can share my email address around if you need. Yeah.
Okay. Thank you. Yeah, well, this is definitely like, because we're only just starting off this idea, and you're like our first person to interview. So hopefully it does kind of grow, and like there's more people that like come onto the Zooms and kind of like do make them connections as well. That's kind of where I'm hoping to go with this. But yeah, it means a lot that you've like taken the time out of your day to come along and give up some time and give some hints, because it definitely makes me a lot more like enthusiastic about everything that's happening, because it is very, when you're a student, it's very kind of flat at the moment, not knowing what to do or where to go, because it's not really adapting. It's just like there's no, I don't know how to make connections and stuff. So yeah, thank you again for taking the time. It means a lot.